Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Seeing Ability podcast, where we're having a conversation about the world of people with disabilities. That means we're going to be talking to a lot of folks. In some cases, it's adults who grew up with a disability, maybe parents who are raising kids, or a whole lot of different people who advocate and support this community. Folks in education, maybe people in healthcare, people with a lot of nonprofits, and just people that are advocates of those who are different. First of all, I know you got a lot of choices when it comes to your time and you're all busy. So thanks for tuning in to us today. I think you're really going to enjoy meeting my friend Jeff because he has a really different background and kind of how he came into this world of advocating for folks with disabilities or differences. Jeff, welcome to Seeing Ability.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into our conversation, my listeners know we like to get to know you a little bit, Jeff. So we're going to do
Yeah.
the Fast Four. And the Fast Four is brought to us by my friends at Reliable Tech Help. So for all your tech needs, make sure you reach out to them, 502-797-7399. Fast Four, here we go. Number one, what is your favorite food?
Well, that's probably the easiest one. My favorite food is pizza.
Well,
Uh, the
you're in
all
good
American
company, I
pizza.
think. Any particular kind or any pizza?
I'm real simple, just pepperoni.
There you go. I like
Yeah.
that
New York
simplicity.
style if I have to get a little picky.
Okay, very good. All right. If we were to get a hold of your playlist, what kind of music would we find?
Well, it's almost easier to tell you what you wouldn't find. You wouldn't find rap or jazz, and I respect those, but you'll find almost everything else. Just depends on the season I'm in and what I like all kinds of country, pop, rock. I guess um, rock and roll was if I had to pick a favorite, would probably be it.
Okay. So very eclectic music taste then. I love
Yes.
it. Okay, fabulous. All right, number three, you get to choose a favorite TV show, a movie you've seen, or maybe a book you're reading.
A TV show or book. Um, there are so many, and believe it or not, I'm not the biggest book reader, but I love movies. It's right now as of right now. There's a movie called Carry On, and it's really, and I guess you could say the type of movies I like is really intense drama.
Okay.
Um, Bruce Willis type movies, Die
Yeah.
Hard type movies, and this one's
Sure.
on Netflix. But I like intense drama, something that keeps your attention. When I was had my child was smaller, of course I like the more childish movies along with him. But overall, I guess intense drama.
Okay. So you're one of those people that would say it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi
Right,
Tower.
right.
Okay, so some of our people can relate to that. Some of the people are like, "What is Jim talking about?" I have no idea. Okay, so number four, what is a bucket list travel destination that you have yet to go to, but that you'd love to?
I think, and it's a common one. I think the Keys would be a lot of fun. Just
Okay,
seems very like it would be really relaxing going
very
down
nice.
the
You can
Keys.
you can kick back, eat some
Yeah,
pizza, listen
yeah,
to some rock and roll, and
yep,
then just watch a good action movie, but in the
yeah.
Keys. There you
There you
go.
go.
You could
Perfect.
do all the fast four together. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. I loved when we met not long ago at a disability focused event. I learned about your story. And again, we have all kinds of different guests on the podcast, but most of them kind of have a family connection of some kind, or their job is inherently working with those with disabilities. And you've got a bit of a different origin story. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up being a disability advocate? What's the backstory?
Well, I used to do a lot of, I shouldn't say, I did used to do a lot of podcasts and stuff. And um, I interviewed a lot of actors and actresses and directors and people like that, and others too. And one time, one actress later on sent me a message. She told me, "You need to interview these guys. They're doing a movie with a lead actor that has Down syndrome." And it really hit me strange. And I checked out what they were doing, and it was beautiful. I just loved it. But the more I realized that I didn't know anything about Down syndrome at all. And it wasn't just, oh, they're doing a cool movie, but they're doing it with someone that has Down syndrome, and I have no clue what that even is.
Yeah.
And I've heard of it and stuff, and but I never really knew much about it. So I wanted to, I always prep for my interviews, learning a little bit about them and what their cause is and stuff. And one night I just went down a rabbit hole of of checking out what Down syndrome is, and then there's the diagnosis, and all, more than a ton of these people had gone through this diagnosis and how
Right.
it was given to them, and it just crushed my heart. 3/4 of babies with Down syndrome are terminated, and I'm like, oh my goodness, So I learned more about that. I did the interview with them and everything, but what more and more I realized is that more people need to learn about this and know about it, because I didn't at 50 years old, had no idea, you
Right.
know, and if it enlightened me and brought happiness to me, and even meeting them, I started volunteering at places as well. I thought, why doesn't anyone else know about this? These people are wonderful, absolutely wonderful, you
Yeah,
know?
it's kind of like it hadn't really crossed your radar before,
Exactly.
or you weren't personally, you didn't have a child or
Right.
maybe a niece or nephew, so it was like on the periphery. And then you
Hmm.
kind of did a deep dive, and you just were. Sounds like you were pretty fascinated by the whole
Yeah.
community.
Well, it touched my heart more than anything. Not just the diagnosis, but these people are just, of all disabilities, they're so wonderful. They're nothing to be scared of, and a lot of people get kind of scared and standoffish with them. And I have to admit, I was the same. But there's nothing to be scared of. They're human. In fact, I shouldn't, but I elevate them higher because they're just so wonderful. You know, you know, they look at the world through a different lens than most of us, I believe.
Yeah, when I was working on the book that I wrote last year, did a lot of interviews, about 100 interviews over 3 years, and there were multiple times where a parent or somebody, whether it was a child with autism or a child with Down syndrome, said, if the rest of us could see the world the way my child sees it, boy, the
Right.
world would be a different place. It
Well,
would be a
incredibly,
better place to have that
incredibly.
perspective. So, what a gift for you. So, tell us how that new awareness, that new love for people who were different, that got, sounds like, right into your bones,
Yeah.
how that then spurred on the project that I met you when we first met. You were talking about your first project. Now you're working on project number two. So tell us about the origin of the first project.
Well, these two filmmaker guys that were fundraising for their film, and I got to learn about them and the guy named Jay that had Down syndrome. I just loved their whole attitude about it. It wasn't about anything but other than elevating, the cause of awareness. And the more I learned about it, the more I got to be friends with them. And I told him one day, I said, I've been seeing some of these videos about diagnoses, given so horribly. I asked him, I said, has there ever been a movie done about like that? And they had listed off a bunch of movies with people with Down syndrome in them, but nothing had really shown what the mother and father, how a diagnosis is given to them. So I told him my whole idea, and I said, can we do this? I said, I'll come down there. I said, well, we can. They're like, yeah, yes, they were all pumped. So we went, and I wrote out this short film. I didn't even know how to write a script. They helped me learn how to format it, and through some
Yep.
more videos and stuff, I formatted it. I had a script, revised it, and picked out a couple cool actresses that I had already known. And what's interesting is the one actress that plays the doctor, she asked me, she's like, why would you want me? She's like, you could have anybody, any guy or any person. Why me? I said, well, the reason I like you is because a woman receiving a diagnosis from a doctor woman is going to be heavier than just your
Mm.
average guy doctor giving out diagnoses. I said, it's going to be a lot heavier. And she's like, oh. I said, I just want the heaviest thing, and so that's how we did it, and I went down there. We did they're all in Atlanta, and we filmed this 3-minute 21-second short film called More Than a Diagnosis.
Now, 3 minutes and 21 seconds, there's a reason behind that.
Yes, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. It was actually a little bit under, and I asked if they could edit it to make it exact 3:21, and he just kind of laughed, and he's like, he realized what I meant. um, Down syndrome is a third copy of the 21st chromosome. So we have it to signify that.
So, again, the title of the first short film was
More than a diagnosis.
More Than a
It,
Diagnosis. Yep.
it
And
basically gives two short scenes. One, the very first scene is kind of your typical, I'm sorry, your baby has Down syndrome. And then it shows a contrasting scene that's a lot more compassionate way to give the diagnosis. and it's won two film festivals, and it's been seen all over the world in Croatia and Canada, Mexico. I mean, all over the place. And I didn't want to make money. I just wanted to be out there for everyone to enjoy and everyone to realize that this is actually still going on to this day,
Right.
because some people are just that narrow-minded with the diagnosis. They don't understand, they feel like it's going to be too much of a burden. So
Yeah. And
that
what a gift.
started
What a
my
gift.
journey.
What a gift to just flip that perspective of like, the bad news versus the news that has lots of opportunity with it. It's kind of
Right.
all how we look at it. So obviously people can probably find it on YouTube or on your
Mhm.
website. If they want to see the first short film, where's the easiest place to find it?
Right on my website is on there. Just go to morethanafilm.com. That's morethanafilm.com, and you'll see the YouTube link right on there. And it's easy to, you just watch it 3.5 minutes, and then you also see all the rest of the information from for my new film that I'm fundraising for right now.
Yeah, and I want to get to that in just a minute. Let's take a quick break. When you have a kid who is different, all your ducks need to be in a row, especially your money. Cam Howell with Primerica knows the joys and challenges as he and his wife raise their medically fragile son, Brooks. Cam brings over 13 years of experience to help his clients be protected, have a plan for the future, reduce debt, and connect to resources. Get your financial house in order so that you can enjoy every moment with your child. Reach out today at 502 803 5075. All right, before we get to talking about your second project, doing a film like this and being around different people, organizations, you said it's won a couple of awards. Congratulations, by
Mhm.
the way. That's pretty amazing
Thank
and
you.
has to feel good. You've probably had a whole new community that's been built and different people and organizations that you're in touch with. And how is that really, as a person, again, without prior to this, a real background, a personal family connection, how's that changed you?
Oh, so much for the good, so much for the better. It's amazing. I see people through a lens that I just, when I see somebody with a disability, especially Down syndrome, it just touches my heart, and I want to go give them a big hug. Of course, I don't do that. I know better, but sometimes there's opportunities. I'm in the public, and and constantly I have customer service skills, so I always say hi to them. Probably a little more warmer hi than I would anyone else, but it's just such a wonderful community, and I've embraced them as much as they've embraced me, because when they learn about me and who I am and what I've been doing, they just absolutely adore it for some reason. They just love it.
I can see why. So the organizations that you've had the chance to get to know a little bit about, that you've been kind of a part of this community, what do they think? What's some of the reactions of folks, especially when they find out that you're not the typical person doing a project like this who maybe has a child with Down syndrome?
Well, they're kind of blown away. Honestly, they're really blown away and surprised, because most people that advocate are those that have a disability, or those that have a child with a disability, or even a relative, that they've grown close to. But they're really shocked, and there's a handful of us out there that don't have anybody real close in our life, like our own child or relative. You know, they're just really shocked.
Yeah, yeah, and it'd be different if you were like a physical therapist or something
Right.
who maybe didn't have a child, but your day-to-day job, that's your passion, that's who you work with.
Right.
Again, I have this podcast. Most of my listeners know, my daughter Sophia was born 26 weeks, pound and a half. I like to say I got my membership card to a club I never thought I'd join. So
Right.
most of us, that's a big driver for us, but really amazing for you to be doing this kind of work in your not your day job, right? In your
Right. Right. Yeah.
evenings,
It's
your
all in my spare
weekends, and
time.
all this time and effort you're pouring into it. That's really great. So tell us a little bit about now. You mentioned you kind of a teaser early because you're a filmmaker, so you know all about teasers. Um, Tell us what was the origin of like you did this first film. It was really well received. What's the idea behind the second one?
Well, I wasn't even sure if I was going to do any more. And a lot of people, I mean, some big heavy hitters in, film and television that I'd already interviewed and watched this, they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to see your next project." And I'm like, I never even gave it any thought,
Right.
and well, I'll submit it to a few film festivals, because a few people urged me to do that. And I thought, well, I don't know if I was going to do anything else. I never really thought about it. But then one day it kind of hit me. I'm like, well, what if, because I initially thought this short film would in the early stages was just be great to change some doctors' minds, how they give a diagnosis, but it actually probably didn't at all. It uplifted the community a lot, but I thought, well, what would it take for a doctor to change how they operate, to change their perspective? What would it actually take? Well, it'd take more than a social media post or a 3.5 minute film or even a feature length film. It'd take a lot. So I thought, well, there's got to be a good story. Um, there's got to be some trauma and drama and something, and even a come to Jesus. There's got to be something intense for somebody to just totally change their perspective from, "Ooh, get away from me. You're. I don't want to deal with you," to cheering them on in the end. And that's where I developed a new story for a little longer short film, probably about 30-minute short film that shows how a doctor went from that same actress and same character in my short film went from basically that first scene to the second scene. What was the story in between? So that's where I got that idea and wrote out a full script and got a lot of people excited and on board.
Okay, so if I'm following you, make sure I'm catching up. The first one was like, what if we had delivery A, not so good, it's bad news. Delivery B, it's challenging news, but there's a lot of possibility and joy in it. And just like we're doing A and B and they're different. But in the second film, you're actually showing somebody who made the journey from thinking A to B. And the
Yep.
reason they changed, so not just like, let's flip out two scenarios. They used to think the way A would deliver. Now they've had this epiphany where now they approach it as B, but something had to happen in between.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are not in that extreme bucket, but a lot of people where a disability has touched them, whether before they've had their child or before they've met an uncle or before they were kind of like kind of awkwardness at the least, to where all of a sudden they're faced with their own child and their whole world has just exploded and they couldn't believe what they were missing,
Right.
and I've gotten to know so many people that fits so well. The youngest person, she'll be 2 this year. Her name's Marley, and she's actually going to be in the film as well. And her mom actually got the delivery on just a wonderful diagnosis. She couldn't have been happier. She and her daughters are her big sister. It was just a great way for her. But then I've met many others that are completely opposite, and they feel guilty that they felt that bad in the beginning, and then how their lives have changed now that they have this special child, and for the good. They would never change it, because a lot of people ask, would you take that away from them? And they're like, no, not at all. you know
Absolutely. Yeah, to a
yeah.
person, so going from a 321 to a 20 to 30 minute, that's a complicated project. And
Mhm.
this is not your day job. So
No.
you've probably been working hard and had a learning curve. Tell us a little bit about
Yes. Yes, well, when I first came up with the idea, I kind of wrote it out, and then I told the idea to my friend and actress Sharon Lanier, who plays in that first film. I told her about the idea just in a 5 minute voicemail. She came back and sent me another voicemail that was almost 10 minutes, and she was just ecstatic. She's like, "I can't believe this! Count me in! Yes, yes!" And in the new film, the doctor has a sister, and I said, I don't know anybody that would fit any of these roles other than you. I said, and she's like, I know the perfect person. And so we just kind of, over the course of the last year, we've refined the script, me and her and a script consultant, wonderful friend of mine, and we've refined it, revised it, and we got a few more wonderful actors on board. Michael J. Patterson will play the husband. He's been in some major hit movies that have been out this year. The Forge is one of them by the Kendrick brothers, and Sharon has been in quite a few movies, and so has the lady, that actress that play her sister, named Rose Hunt Person. She's been in some major movies as well. But they're all just kind of friends of friends, and then I got a few others together. And we're just going to put this together as soon as we get some more funding to it, because most of
that?
it is all local to Middle Tennessee, so that
Okay.
helps a lot.
So tell us again if people, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people are like, I want to hear this story, I want to see this movie. But part of that is people that know people that know people that could help make it happen. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming if we go to your website, there's different ways that what you're looking for, ways you need help. Tell us about the
Yeah.
different ways people could help you and advocate for this financially and others, and tell us about the website.
Yeah, every little bit helps. I've had a $25 donation. I've had $1,000 donation. Every little bit helps because it's, one lunch for the crew for one day, paying an audio guy to make sure the audio is perfect, all that kind of stuff. Make sure the actors get paid, and just keeping little Marley happy as well, and all the people. Just every little bit helps, and it's amazing how many people will help. It's just, it doesn't matter if it's 25 bucks or $2,000. And those that want to come alongside and be a sponsor, they can get their logo in the film credits and the website. And if someone wants to be an extra in the film as well, and with their business or whatever, there's all kinds of opportunities. And that's all, they can reach out to me. My email's on the website. Sharana, I filmed the teaser trailer to it. It gives you just a little snippet of it, of what the movie will be like, and the story that's on the website as well. Pretty much everything is there.
And tell us that address again.
It's morethanafilm.com.
Okay, perfect.
Morethanafilm.com.
So the teaser's there. So we might have somebody listening that says,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the big pocketbooks, but I know some people that are
Yeah.
huge advocates for this kind of work. They could send that teaser to them and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you need to take a look at this project. This might
Yeah.
be something you or somebody you know wants to be involved with.
Yeah, message me, or just, share the website, make a post on your own social media. Because I know times are tough right now, but if anybody just makes a post, like you said, somebody that knows somebody might see it and like, oh, that's interesting. What's that? Because that's kind of how it happened to me. Someone said, hey, check this out. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's sometimes all it takes.
Well, I love what you're doing. When you and I bumped into each other, props to the folks with the Extra Mile event that we were at, the big
Hmm.
Down syndrome walk there in Middle Tennessee. I knew I had to get you on the podcast. This is
I appreciate
amazing. So, we talked a little bit about how it's changed you. You've had a chance to really get immersed in the community. If you were giving advice, I guess not to, a lot of times I'll ask people for advice for parents traveling this path. I think it's probably better to ask you, like people who were like you were before this happened, who don't maybe have folks in their everyday world who are in this world of folks who with differing abilities. How's it changed you, and what advice would you have just to the general public in terms of their lens and their awareness of people with disabilities?
Well, yeah, like again, I was kind of one of those reluctant people. I didn't really think much about it, but when you think about it, or if you're wondering how can you get involved, even most churches, maybe not all, but most churches have groups and stuff, and maybe where you can volunteer some. Put your foot out there. It takes some boldness, but get involved and get to know these people. It won't take much, because they want to get to know you. And if you're there helping out, just passing out crayons or whatever, they want to get to know you. I'll give you one little example. I was helping out, and it was exercise time at this one place, and I was volunteering, and I don't dance at all. I just won't, don't. So I'm more like the type to stand back and watch. Well, this little
Yeah,
girl with Down syndrome comes up to me, grabs my hand, and I didn't, and she pulls me out on the dance floor, and we're just jiggling around. And I'm like, this is the most joy I've had all week. I don't know how to dance, but she didn't care. She did not care. She
right.
just wanted to, and put some light into my life. And she did that more. And I was just like, well, this is cool. This is cool. And it takes nothing really. It doesn't take any money. It doesn't take just a little bit of your time. It'll change your life if you let it.
Yeah, well, I can't thank you enough for the work you're doing. Regardless of the diagnosis, so many parents traveling this path have a somewhat traumatic story about how they were given their diagnosis and
Yeah.
what it meant to them, and how their life was turned upside down, or how they cried, or how it was just a seminal moment. So just some awareness to that first piece of like, how
Yeah.
could we deliver those diagnoses in a different way? I mean, that's a gift to the world. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I know my
Absolutely.
listeners are excited to have you on. Give us one more time the website so if people want to learn more.
Yes, it's morethanafilm.com. That's morethanafilm.com. And you'll see my email there. It's super easy. It's morethanafilm at AOL.com as well. They can get in touch with me, share my stuff. You don't need my permission. Just share away. You'll find me on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did, meeting Jeff and learning about the work he's doing, we're kind of the best kept secret at Seeing Ability. So we think that anybody who's traveling this path as a parent, as an individual, or folks working in therapy centers or special ed teachers or folks in nonprofits, we want them to know about this podcast as a resource. We're currently doing 2 guests a month. One is an individual like Jeff traveling this path or an advocate, and the second is usually an organization. So we want you to like the post on the Facebook page, follow the page, and of course, share it, leave a comment. And then we love your ideas. There's other people like Jeff out there doing great work, other nonprofits all across the US. They might make great podcast guests or families raising kids with disabilities. I specifically am looking right now for some folks who are like maybe 20 to 40 years old who grew up as that kid with the disability, and they can give us the insight of what it was like growing up and what they learned over the years and how their parents impacted them. So if you have ideas for guests, send them to me. Please help get the word out. The goal of this podcast has always been the same, to educate folks. And I know you learned something today, to keep us all motivated. We all need that dose of inspiration. And then for this podcast to become part of the village. It takes a village to raise kids in general, especially kids with differing abilities. And I've had a lot of feedback from folks that say, I love listening because I nod my head a lot. We might need to get a sponsor who's a chiropractor. People nod their head a lot.
There you go.
So if chiropractors out there, hit me up. But if we want to be part of your village. So thank you guys for listening in today. Thank you, Jeff. We'll see everybody next time.
Thank you.